We have begun to notice headline articles about war heating up significantly during the past week or two. We are currently witnessing how the markets respond to these headlines over that period as well. Additionally, as you can see from my screen, this is not just occurring on the monthly, but also on the weekly, the daily, and even the hourly. As a result of the market's reaction to the news, we are witnessing a sea of red. Furthermore, I want you all to realize that despite all of the headlines and conversations about war, I don't think we should be in a panic. We shouldn't be acting rashly, in my opinion. I don't believe we should be overly pessimistic. In a moment, I will discuss the reason. But first, I really want to take a quick look around the market. Just give a brief summary of our current situation. As of right now, Ethereum is around 25, close to 2,600, and Bitcoin is little under 107K. XRP is roughly $2 to 24. Additionally, if we look at the last week, past month, as well as the daily and hourly, you will see that XRP is performing fairly. Well, neither Ethereum nor Bitcoin are. So basically, we haven't seen any significant change and have just been stable. In terms of pricing and movement, it has been rather quiet. However, we have undoubtedly seen some significant upswings and downswings in a number of vintage currencies, as well as in Bitcoin, of course. As of right now, the total value of the cryptocurrency market is still around 3.33 trillion. Additionally, I do have the old coin index here. In a Bitcoin season, we're still doing quite well. We're beginning to transition into the alt season, but we're still a long way off and have a lot more work to do. However, the fear and greed index is somewhat neutral at 53. With the exception of old coins and the old coin season index chart, with so many headline items coming out, this did start to decline recently. It's happening in a very short period of time and is becoming much more dramatic. However, I'm going to draw attention to this, and I do want to discuss it briefly. I'm not attempting to seem positive. I'm not saying that war is a good thing. I'm going to offer you all the whole truth about this, and I will, of course, keep you all informed about all I observe. And this is just what I anticipate occurring. Let's first examine Bitcoin, though. Let's examine XRP. So, over the course of a year, Bitcoin and XRP are really dull, right? When we consider this, for example, we already had the pleasant inclination to return in November. Since then, starting around January, we've just been drab. We did reach all-time highs, and Bitcoin did initiate the rally back in April. Not so much with old coins. Every coin has been really dull. Well, here's how Bitcoin has been doing over the past month. We are simply wandering. Since the all-time high at the end of May, we have been ranging. Naturally, this is how the price action for XRP looks over the course of a month, a sort of downturn followed by sideways price activity. I haven't really been paying much attention to Bitcoin and even XRP lately. Since we are so close to setting a new all-time high on this chart, the stock market more especially, the S&P 500 has been the primary focus of my attention. However, because of all the headline stories about the Middle East, most people are not paying attention to this. We have already been hearing discussions about the US joining this battle. Therefore, we are now moving close to doing so. Furthermore, I'm not attempting to portray this as a positive thing or to imply that we enjoy conflict. War is awesome. Indeed, half of the conflicts are just absurd, as you are aware. The primary topic of discussion here is how markets will respond to these occurrences. I don't think I need to remind you guys that war is the key to increasing money printing. The case has always been like way, right? What do we usually witness when there is war? We observe that the M2 money supply becomes completely out of control. When the M2 money supply goes parabolic, what happens to markets? Markets follow that pattern. In the event that the supply of M2 explodes, all of these markets will see parabolic growth. At what cost, may I now ask? Because when markets go nuts during a battle, it usually indicates that a war is still going on. War will be the primary cause of the parabolic market decline, because lives will be lost. There's nothing wonderful about that. I'm just sharing with you all my general perspective on the response of the financial markets to the war. Guys, that's me telling it like it is. Markets go parabolic along with the M2 supply. Though that is not a good thing. This is exactly what is happening right now. The retail market currently projects a 67% likelihood that the U.S. will launch an immediate military campaign against Iran. This is something we must observe, because this could result in a battle that lasts for months or even years, I believe. It to be extremely serious as well, we're not sure. We have no idea how large this will be. We have no idea how awful it will get. However, we are not here to discuss war. We're here to discuss the financial markets and their potential reactions. If we go to war, the markets will blow apart. We will profit. However, that's a good thing. I'm simply being truthful with you all. However, we also have over here breaking outside of this. President Trump is departing the G7 early to go straight to Washington, D.C., and has instructed the National Security Council to convene and be vigilant. Everyone who works in Washington, D.C. is rushing back to their workplaces because Israel is about to launch a fusion bomb on Iran, according to a source close to U.S. military operations in the Middle East. Israel has kept this technology as their major weapon in their arsenal since stealing it from America in the 1960s. Even while a fusion explosion is more focused, contained, and produces less fallout, it can nonetheless be just as catastrophic as a traditional nuclear bomb. The U.S. believes that Iran's leader is either dead or gravely wounded, and because they have nothing left to lose. Israel believes that one of the few renegade Iranian generals who are still alive would launch a nuclear weapon against Israel as a last resort. U.S. forces are ready to respond to regional losses and protect Israel in the event of a nuclear exchange. Once more, it appears that this is becoming more and more exaggerated every day. Can we really believe what we're hearing? Not precisely. I've stated it over and over again. We'll also witness the most bizarre headlines. We'll witness record-breaking levels of fear. We've seen this occur numerous times in earlier cycles as well. Not exactly sure how bad it is. Simply know that the United States is officially beginning to intervene in the ongoing back-and-forth conflict that is now taking place in the Middle East. This is going to be overblown, and we're not sure how. We're not sure how big it's going to get. But we need to pay attention to this because once more, it might have a significant influence on the financial markets. The Fed meeting is currently the main event. I'm keeping an eye on because it's less than 2 days away, less than 48 hours remain until the FOMC meeting, and everyone believes that rates will just be paused. In other words, they will not decide on them. For the month of June, they will remain the same. Many people believe that the rate drop will occur in September after the months of June and July. We don't know exactly what will happen. But I've been really focused on this over the past few weeks, and I've been trying to tell you guys that today is going to be a big day for the markets. The market will be impacted by whatever transpires at this meeting. The weird thing about this, though, is that in addition to the FOMC meeting, there is a war raging in the Middle East. Thus, there are a lot of unknowns that could affect the markets this week. How do we become ready for this, then? We do, however, maintain stable currency and reserve. We don't behave rashly. We don't use positions or leverage. We attempt to sit on our hands and simply ask that you be patient. We will overcome whatever storm is now present. The primary thing I'm keeping an eye on and concentrating on is how the markets have responded to each and every conflict throughout history. This dates back all the way to 1927. This is the S&P 500 during a time of war. Once more, war is a possibility and will always occur. There will always be the possibility of war, particularly when money is involved. However, if we go back in time and consider all of these wars, do you notice how the S&P 500 reacts each time one breaks out? In practically every single instance, the stock market goes haywire. And why? Well, the liquidity is the reason. Money equals war. It floods the marketplace with liquidity. It's the same this time. What's crazy about this is that everyone is preoccupied with the conflict, events in the Middle East. The fact that we recently signed paperwork to complete a new trade agreement with the UK is something they are totally ignoring. The US and the UK are these. This occurred earlier today. In addition, the money market now has 7.4 trillion, a new all-time high. That's it. Side income. And you know what funds? Market funds. People usually invest in money market funds because they believe that either a recession or a conflict would break out. They're afraid. They therefore wish to invest their funds in the most secure manner. One of the safest places to keep money is in money market funds. This is the reason they are now examining this, particularly at a time when the DXY is sharply declining. However, I also want you all to realize that this is all taking place at a moment when XRP looks like this. Alright, now we're hearing about war. The war is still going on. This upward trend is still being maintained by XRP. Compared to the low in April, we may still be holding a higher low here. Additionally, it appears that Bitcoin will hold and sustain this level from the middle of the month. Here, Bitcoin still appears to be weak. We are currently hitting on the daily at around 106.8K. But we still want to break over and get a solid close above 107K. This level needs to be flipped. Technically, we also aim to surpass 110, or about 5K. Back here, that will clear these highs. We hit this high wick, you know? And from there we could really aim for the highest points ever recorded in May, since that would result in our losing his prior low. We do not want to lose 102.7K. We want to see a break over 110.6K. And that's where we really sort of target these lows from the beginning of June at roughly 100, so it's 100.4K. We don't want to see a loss of 102.7K. As we approach this FOMC meeting, we're currently only chopping and ranging. Watch what transpires at the FOMC meeting and watch what transpires during the war. We're just finishing up Monday, and this week is going to be somewhat unpredictable. Let's see what occurs during the course of the next few days this week. In addition to XRP and Bitcoin, my primary focus is on Bitcoin's supremacy. I just want everyone to understand, though, if we zoom out, in fact, we haven't seen alt season yet this cycle. All right, we continue to push for Bitcoin supremacy. I say this because when we consider all of the wars that have occurred in the past, I can even recall that if we only look at the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022, it was beginning to garner a lot of media attention before FTX also collapsed in November of that year. What did you think would happen next? The markets were greatly awakened. For instance, in 2022, Bitcoin fell to its lowest point. XRP fell to its lowest point, around in the summer of 2022. When we consider the current situation, I genuinely believe that everything we're seeing, all of the headlines, etc., is seriously upending the markets. We do know that the M2 supply will usually have a massive run-up at a time of conflict, so I'm not getting shook out just yet. This, since we're seeing new liquidity again, will boost liquidity and lead Bitcoin, equities, XRP, and everything else in these markets to soar even higher. In addition to Bitcoin domination, we're witnessing the M2 supply bursting out. I do believe that there will be a significant surge in markets overall. However, the environment that is driving this to occur bothers me. I'm going to be completely honest with you all. The thought of going to battle bothers me. Even though I detest the thought of conflict, we must confront it. Particularly in a world where money is the primary motivator for practically everything. This is still going on, mostly due of the trade war, tariffs, and other issues, and we simply need to weather the storm. However, I want you all to know that this is theoretically bullish for markets. Yes, it is. It's not my favorite situation, but this is the one we're in, and we simply have to deal with the cards that have been dealt to us. Having said that, I hope you all found this video entertaining. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications. You can follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord channel in the description below for additional free stuff. Having said that, Nick, thank you for watching, guys. Goodbye.